So this racism that was there, you had that to contend with. You had other no-go areas. Like I was from Tooting. There used to be the Mitcham, which has got a lot of Muslims now, a lot of black people, Asians, everything like that. There was a particular part where there was a bandstand. And every time you'd go through on the bus, if you were going to Carl Shorten or somewhere, you had about 50 skinheads sitting there. And they would see you on the bus and start hurling abuse at you. And you might want to put the finger, in those days it was 2 fingers, but that was it. They'd jump on the bus and you're finished. These were the sorts of things that we had to go through with regards to no-go areas. So South London for me, Tooting, Balham, Tooting Broadway, Collier's Wood, South Wimbledon. These were our areas. Going up to Brixton, we were happy there. We were safe. We knew the back roads and everything like this. And if skinheads, they wouldn't even come into the area. One time, 200 skinheads and mods came into Tooting Broadway. And I remember I was at home, and this is how tight we were as a community. My colleagues came running, bang, you could hear them shouting down the street, skinheads are here, they're at such and such a pub on Tooting High Road. Every black youth that I knew ran out of their houses, taking everything with them. And then there was a fight for 2 hours down at Tooting Broadway. And we liked it. You come into our area, Chelsea girl, the shop was caved in, one of our friends, I won't mention his name, picking up a skinhead and throwing him through the glass, saying this is our area, don't come here. That was the extent of the racism in those days. That was the extent of the racism. So we used to go, for example, as a 15, 16-year-old, if I was going to a nightclub, the sort of weaponry we would have to carry to put outside the nightclub for when we came out. And I'll give an example, and I'll move on from this racism after this. But I went to Carl Shorten Town Hall. They used to have discos for under 16s. We went one day, met our girlfriends there. At night when it finished, 11:30, 12 o'clock, many of my friends had gone. I was talking to a girlfriend, another friend of mine was talking to his girlfriend, and we came out expecting to see skinheads there, because they weren't there. But what we saw were mods, long hair, their Parker jackets and everything. So we were chilled. That's why we didn't get on the buses. That's why our friends didn't come in their cars to pick us up to take us home, because we thought the skinheads aren't here, it's the mods. A mod were these stylish, fashionably dressed white people who drove mopeds, were into black music like this, and they used to fight the skinheads as well. So, but what happened? Those same mods that we thought they were when we went into the club, when we came out, they were in their Parkers, their long hair, with their mopeds. They saw all of the other black guys go, and I remember one of them looking at me. But what did they do? They pulled off the wig, they took off their Parker and said, "You black bastard, it's us." Now, for us now, we were shocked. It's 2 of us. So I looked at my friend, I said, we've been done. We ran to Carl Shorten train station. The last train was going. We jumped on it and we saw the skinheads running. And they were laughing because they knew that they tricked us. Had they caught us, I don't know if I'd be here now telling this story, giving this account. Right, in school now, I was in the bright stream, the highest stream in my class, in my year, because they saw that Tony had something. I wasn't stupid. Remember that when I came from the other school, Henry Thornton, they moved me because the academic challenges, my mum and dad didn't feel there were any. So they moved me to this school. So after the cultural shock of being the only black guy in my class, I settled in, started working, and was doing very, very well. When it came to preparing for our O-levels now, which you call GCSEs now, I was in the top stream. I was doing 5, I was doing 9, but 4 of them I didn't want to do, so I dropped down to 5. And I remember I was so serious about my exams at that particular time that I remember praying in my room, saying to myself, look, I need to pass these exams. And that was the only time I remember praying sincerely, saying, please God, help me pass these exams and I'll do my best. And obviously I did that, I succeeded, and I didn't continue with God in that sense there. I just got into my road life and everything again there. Passed all my exams, raving, nightlife, girlfriends, drinking, everything like this. But one of the things that still stuck with me, because there was a conflict that I was going through, in that I've been raised with values. My mum had raised me with values. The group I was with, my gang, we had some values. We respected our mums. And one thing my mum told me was, treat any woman like you'd like to see me and your sister treated. And that stayed with me to this day. And so, yes, we were gallists and we were into women and everything like that, but we won't do some of the really disgusting things that I know that people do with women today and everything, the gang thing and the rapes. We weren't into that whatsoever, and we didn't have anyone around us who was into that. So I remember when I started going out, the conflict I was having was this good moral side that was there, but then there was this road mad thing side of me which was tempting as well. So I channeled that with violence. When anything was going on, to be, let's go, and we would be into the gang thing and violence. But then the moral side was like, I've got to move in a direction that's righteous. I've been raised in a way, there's some righteousness. So I always had that conflict. That always happened. And it some may laugh at it now, but I remember I would rave, I would do some badness. And then I would go to church, the Catholic church. I would go on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'd sit in the confession box and say to the Father, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. And I would start telling him some of the stuff that I'd done, but I'd pause because I thought, I can't tell him this. I can't tell him that. Yes, when you say Father, you're talking to the priest. As Catholics, when you go in and speak to the priest in the confession box, he's not supposed to, you don't see him, he doesn't see you, he's not supposed to know who you are. So you would say to him, the priest, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. So I questioned that at that stage there for two reasons. I asked when I was going to classes for Catholicism to become baptized and everything, confirmed as we said, I said, why do I have to come to you and ask you? And then when I've come to you, you've told me, because they used to say to me, right, go and say 5 Hail Marys, go and pray to Mary. Oh, there's a statue of Mary in the church. Or go and pray to Jesus. So these two things confuse me. And I would ask in my confirmation classes, why do I have to come to you to ask you for forgiveness? And why then do you send me to go and pray to Jesus or Mary? So he said this to me, he said, you have to come to me, I'm a representative of God on earth, and then I will tell you to go to Mary, the Mother of God, astaghfirullah, or go to pray to Jesus, because God is so pure, we are sinful, that there needs to be a mediator who has come for our sins. And this never ever stuck with me. I never ever understood it. I still kept going though, because my conscience kept saying, when I did something bad, when I was doing badness outside, I'd quietly go to the church and do this. And that carried on right up to near when I became a Muslim. This was a sort of like, you've done this badness, now go to church and ask for forgiveness. You've done this badness. I even became a born again Christian at one point. And at that point, what happened, I was in college, and some of the girls, I had a lot of friends there who liked me and everything, but some of the black girls who were Christians came to me and said, look, Tony, we see you're a good guy, this, that and the other, and look, we feel you need to go in this direction. And they saw that resonated with me. I said, no, I've given up on church because I was a Catholic, I didn't understand this. So I said, look, there's a big preacher coming to QPR. This is when QPR had their new AstroTurf. You need to come and see him. His name was Luis Palau from Argentina. And I went with them. I thought, let me just go see what he's saying. And I listened to him. The stadium was full. The side that they were speaking to was full. And he was talking about the ills of the world, the corruption, everything like this. And all of that, I felt it. It resonated with me. So then I thought, yeah, I'm going to try again. I'm going to become a born again Christian. And I'm going to try again and move all this badness from me again. Now, when I went down to say I want to give myself up to the faith again, the man pointed on the stage and he said, do you see that? And I was thinking, what's he talking about? I don't see it. I just want to become a born again Christian. What do I have to do? He goes, look on the stage. I said, what is it? Then he pointed, he goes, look, and he was pointing to this big crucifix. And in my heart sank. I was like, oh, here we go again. What I went through as a Catholic, I'm going to have to go through going to Jesus again. But I said, let me see if this is different. So I'd go to prayer meetings, we'd be sitting, we'd be opening up the Bible, they'd say Tony or Anthony, they wanted me to feel special. Anthony, what do you get from these messages? So I'd read about Abraham in the Old Testament, Ibrahim. I'd read about him, and some things I felt and some things I didn't. And I'd give my own explanation, and then the others would start saying, praise be to God, wisdom. I was saying to myself, hold on, I could be saying anything about this without knowledge, and you're telling me it's wisdom. But one of the things that got me, and it stuck with me, and I said, I can't understand this, is there's a verse in the Bible, in Genesis, where it says that Abraham wrestled with God and beat him. And God had to damage his sciatic nerve in his hip to let him get him out of a headlock. And for me as an individual, I was like, no. This is not what I know about God. God is great. God is unequal to anything. He's all powerful. So basically a prophet wrestling with God and winning. And my heart said this cannot happen. So this made me start moving away from the religion again.
And I think Tony had what Jacob had that night. He had a look of desperation in his eyes. And God came down in human form, is what the Bible just said. He named his place Peniel because I have been face to face with God and survived. This wasn't no ordinary wrestling match. And so that night, as Jacob is wrestling, and this is a God-inspired thing, and he's I don't want to face it. I don't want to face it. And so finally, God touches his hip. And then the Bible says that the day was dawning. The sun was coming. And finally he was like, okay, we've been at this all night. And so he touched him on his hip, and his hip shrunk. And so the man then goes, please let go of me. Why are you holding on? And Jacob said, I will not let you go until you bless me.
He wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now, this is something you have to understand about God. When he sees that the day is breaking, when he sees that he's running out of time, he escalates the fight. He escalates the fight. He says, I got to bring this to a quick halt because he's running out of time. Now, you see, God don't run out of time. And he don't get old. And he don't lose strength. And he don't need anything. But you are running out of time. And when God sees that the day is about to break, he says, I've got to do something to bring this wrestling match to a place of surrender. I got to bring it to a close. I got to stop the fight. I got to stop the struggle. I got to stop the war. Come on up here, Ernest, and stand with me. This is my brother. Say amen for my brother. Thank you. And we're in a fight. And they're struggling one against another. The Lord and I are in a fight, pushing and shoving. No.
God is wrestling with him. It says in verse 25 that when the man saw that he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of socket. And then he said to the man, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. Interesting. It's kind of an interesting statement there for him to say that when the man saw that Jacob was overpowering him, or when he saw that he would not win the match. Well, that just kind of blows my mind, because Ed, you're telling me that this is God wrestling with Jacob, that God thinks he's going to lose the match? God finally got Jacob in the posture and a position where Jacob was at the end of himself. He had come to the end of his own strength, all night long of fighting against God, his whole entire life culminating in this moment. He had finally got to the point he was exhausted, all strength had left, all the tenacity had left, all of those things had just completely depleted from fighting not only his whole life, but that whole night fighting with God. And finally, he gets to the point for the first time in his life where he grabs onto God and he says, I'm going to cling to you. I'm going to cling on to you, and I'm not going to let you go until you bless me.
In the Bible, which is supposed to be a book of God, that God was beaten by a man in this way. For me, it was blasphemy. So I moved away I moved away from Christianity again, and I said, you know, I'm going to go into my street culture, and that's what I immersed myself in. And in that, we developed our own religion, we developed our own code, we developed our own morals, what was good, what was wrong. That's how we were. Now, moving on from college, my career was going quite well. My career started moving very well. I started working in the legal profession, Crown Prosecution Service. I did well there. My girlfriend and I decided we wanted to buy a place, so we bought our first place. And things were settling down, things were moving really, really well in that. Life was good, I was with the woman that I loved, night clubbing, money, more money that I could have hoped for, nice cars. My first car was an Audi. Things were going really, really well in that sense. But I still had the other side. We were doing some of the bad things that we were doing, some of the badness. Some of the things that we were getting up to with regards to the duality of my lifestyle. For example, when we used to go and rave, my posse, South London, Tooting, and going up to Brixton, we would number about 30, 40 of us. We were tight. Now, I've also mentioned my group, my gang as we would say now. We called ourselves, we gave ourselves a name because we wanted to have an identity, and we called ourselves SWS. That initially stood for Southwest Syndicate. Because we're from Southwest London, we're from Tooting. And those who know South London, compared to the rest of London, whenever we used to go to nightclubs, whenever we went anywhere around London and even the country, the DJ would always shout, and he would start first with maybe East London. And East London was quiet. You hear a little bit of noise. West London, a little bit louder. North London, a little bit louder. When he called out how many people from South London are in the house, the place shook. And South London still has that respect today. Maybe I'm being a bit partisan, but that's how it was with South London. But so we called ourselves Southwest Syndicate. Then we would meet up with another 40, 50, and we would move off to Birmingham, we'd move off to Derby, we'd move up to Nottingham. And when we were moving up in coaches, what we would do is we'd stop at the service stations and we would raid the service stations of everything and then come back onto the coaches. And on one occasion, the police turned up. And I remember we had to put everything on the top of the coach through the grids at the top to hide everything. So the police came on, they won't come on the coach because they saw how many of us were there. It's like one of them said, oh gosh, it's dark in here because there's all black guys. And so they won't come on. As the coach drove off now, I remember it was funny for us, all the stuff that was on the top of the coach fell off the back. And we basically stood by the coach driver with a tool and told him, don't stop. So all the way back to London, his foot was down. And the two or three coaches coming down. And we used to love that. We'd go into different areas. There was trouble sometimes. We would get involved in that trouble. Most of the time it was fun, raves like this. One of the incidents that happened with the clubs is that we went to a club. It was one of our guys' birthday, one of our brethren's birthday, his youngest birthday. And what actually happened is that when we were in there, he got into an incident. He got into an incident where some individuals rushed him, attacked him. He came out to us, because there were so many of us, we circled the whole floor. We took over the whole dance floor and circled the individuals ready to do them something. The owners of the club now, is called Raw, just off Tottenham Court Road. The owners of the club came to us and said, look, can you leave? We're going to send them out of one door. We're going to send you out of another door. We know you guys, you can come back next week, it's not a problem. So we went peacefully, we said, all right, cool. We left. But the weeks after that now, we started getting messages from the club, from the bouncers, that we were idiots, we were this, we were that, we were weak. They were telling our girls. My girlfriend would come back and say they're insulting you guys. Other women would come back, they said you lot are not coming because you're scared, you're this, you're that. So one night now, we said to ourselves, you know what, we got to put a stop to this. 26 of us were doing a show just up the road in Soho, and we had a younger group from us now. A younger group called BBS from Croydon. They wanted to join up with us too, and we wanted to give them an initiation. Can they really do things? Can they really move like us? So we did the show and we walked. quietly from Soho to the club. When we got to the club now, we shut it down. We looked to the side, we saw scaffolding, bottles, pipes, everything. And we said, okay, rush. We attacked the bouncers badly. They went to get reinforcements from downstairs to come up. When we rushed them, unlike what you see today, attack and then run, we attacked, they got up and they saw us still standing there. And we finished it. And this may seem like arrogance from my point. No, what I'm talking about, we were confident. We were confident in how we were. We saw ourselves as intelligent hoodlums. That you make trouble with us, we're going to finish it. We shut down this club. We shut it down properly. The police came, but we blended amongst the crowd, and they didn't catch anyone except 2 of my colleagues who got caught. Moving on from that, that was the sort of things that we were doing, and it was part of our lifestyle. And we had to make sure that we weren't getting caught, because I'd be at work the next day, suit and tie, in court, Your Honor, doing the cases like this. These were the 2, and for me it was exciting. Having these 2 things was exciting, but there was conflict. They couldn't stay together all of the time. With that violence taking place and the sort of risks that we were taking, again, when I was abroad and someone came into the nightclub looking for us, it was our nightclub, we were running the show, and they came in, guns, everything, and we weren't prepared for that because we were setting up for the show. And when they said they were looking for your leader, they were looking for the main man, and there were 2 of us. 2 of us were called Tony, Big T, and myself, to be. So then we saw now people are coming for us. It's getting more and more on top. Situations where we saw some of our individuals were being warned, and I want to come to that stage now where it got to the peak. And this was a changing point where I had to say, I can't mix the 2 anymore. For me, it got on top when I had my own nightclub. And the club that I was given, it was called Patrick's Place. It was in Clapham North. And the club started building up slowly, surely, and people were hearing about it, and it was on cable TV and everything. And one day I was with my brethren, enough of us coming to open up. As I was opening up the club, I see some white guy, nice Crombie jacket, suit and tie, and he came up to me. He must have been about 6'4", and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he started turning me. I tried to rough him off and everything, but he turned me to face across the road. My brethren started coming to what's this man doing to T? We're going to deal with him, They turned me across the road. I saw a Stag, I saw a BM, a Beamer, I saw 3 other cars. White guys got out all suited, sawed-off shotguns, machine gun, pieces, and they all pointed them at me. Broad daylight. All the other people were just walking like nothing was happening. So he said to me, come with me, get in the car. Looked at my brethren, they couldn't do nothing. We didn't have any machines or anything like that. I was kidnapped. Kidnapped me, took me off. Now I was calm. On the outside, you just gotta be cool. And I had a guy sitting in the back. He had the machine just pointing at me. The other guys were driving. I thought, that's it. So I'm thinking, what is it that I've done? What crime have I done? What is it that has come back to haunt me? What is it? I didn't know. I didn't have an idea of what's happening. The good thing, alhamdulillah, it wasn't for something I'd done. They took me somewhere, and they took me. So they said, right, we need you to tell us who can get you out of this. So there was a woman that I knew. I said, go to her place, and it was in a block of flats. It's an estate. So they went, took up there. They went upstairs with their arms. This guy sat in the back, ready to just cock the trigger and kill me if I was putting them in a setup. She came out. Alhamdulillah, she came out. She saw what was going on the balcony. She looked down and she saw me sitting in the back of the seat of the car, and she knew it was on top. So she came down. They took us somewhere else. They compared her account with my account. That, look, this man, I ain't seen him, don't know where he's at, everything like that. And they said, you know what? You've told the truth. We're gonna let you go. Now, when that happened to me, I've not been kidnapped before. Yes, we know about kidnapping others and doing all of this sort of stuff. Yeah, but being kidnapped at gunpoint in broad daylight, thinking your life is over, makes you think differently. And my brethren, they came to me and they said, we couldn't do anything. We thought that was the last we were going to see of you. We didn't know what to think about it. We didn't have our machines. We didn't have anything. So all of us did a sort of check, like, is this the way that we want to keep going? Is this the sort of lifestyle that we want to keep going and move into in that way? And it was from that point that the changes came.